Welcome to another episode of That One Movie Podcast, also known as TOMP, the weekly show in which we discuss movies, games, and TV shows in addition to kind of whatever. Mainly we just shout nonsense into our microphones. I'm your host, Holden Sutter, joined by my co-host, Jimmy Youthy.
Holden, I am now the CEO of this podcast.
You are?
I
lost Succession.
You lost Succession.
I lost the
won.
game of Succession.
You did. I won.
Dang it. Today we've got a great episode for you featuring our spoiler review of Succession up until the very end.
So the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah. Spoilers for every part.
Yeah. And non-spoiler and spoiler reviews of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Very nice, Holden.
That One Movie Podcast.
Tom.
But first, Jimmy, we've got to do the Toms.
Oh boy, let's do some Toms.
The Toms. Toms is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of three famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw's the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron is somewhere in between. Jimmy, let's get to it.
Holden, I don't know who any of those Toms are.
You don't?
No.
Why?
I guess they're not that famous.
Oh, okay. Well, they're mildly famous Toms then, I guess.
I'm glad how you just completely ducked away from the microphone when you said that, so nobody heard it. Like, you just probably just went completely silent for half of that.
I had to get a drink of water.
Yeah, but then you... Yeah, okay, well... just listen back to it and see what the audience goes. You probably, they probably could hear you, but it was really quiet.
That's fine.
Holden's not used to the new microphones yet.
I'm not. No,
he never listens. He never goes back and listens to us. Unlike me, where I just put it on a loop over and over until I slowly go insane.
Yeah, he listens to it a lot, but I don't know how he does it. But first, Jimmy, we have a trailer to do. Let's do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem.
Teenage Mutant Mayhem Ninja Turtles.
Yes, basically.
As you could say. It is a beautiful looking movie. Obviously inspired by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. You can see that they definitely...
more inspired by Into the Spider-Verse because, it's made before Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, thank you, Holden. The Spider-Verse movies, it's inspired by those.
Sure.
It's in Spider-Versed by those.
Yeah.
Because, that unique animation style that really changed the game 5 years ago. It's gorgeous. I think it looks really, really good.
Yeah,
it's even like more of a painted look. I think it has a very nice aesthetic, especially like the darker scenes, all the lights. It's got a lot of that neon pop, and it almost has like a claymation sort of element to it at times. I think it's really, really cool looking.
I don't really know how to describe the animation style for this. Very, very bold outlines. I think like the closest thing I could think of is something like Borderlands, but it's a lot more. Yeah, it's a lot more dark, like colored in than that. But it's in terms of like the 3D models and stuff. But like frame rate wise and everything, it's definitely Spider-Verse. Lower frame rate and everything. But yeah, it's very unique, at least.
Yeah, and it also is very much like they're kids. They're like teenagers. They're talking about teenagers are talking about what they would do if they weren't Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, I'd be in high school. I'd hopefully have a girlfriend. Oh, no shot. You wouldn't have a girlfriend. That sort of thing. Kind of that playful banter, and the chemistry between them seems to be really good. There seems to be a lot of interesting thoughts, a lot of creativity behind this. And you would hope for something that looks so beautiful and looks like so much care was put into the visual side. Sure. Hopefully that care was put into the story as well. We have some sort of like Superfly or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Superfly seems to be the villain.
Yeah.
Of a team of mutants.
Mutant animals, they're placing it. We'll see how it plays out, but hopefully the story can live up to the quality of the animation itself, because if it does, then we're just ushering in another exciting animated
really good movie
franchise that hopefully can fill in the Spider-Verse void once that trilogy ends early next year.
Yeah. Well, and so you mentioned the teenage thing, and I think we mentioned it last time we talked about the trailer. They seem more like teenagers than any other version of this that I've seen, at least that I can remember. Like the live action movies, they're like 8 feet tall or something. Yeah. Like they're so big, and they probably have got like big voice actors like a Chris Evans or something. I don't know if Chris Evans is in that movie.
I don't. Yeah.
But like these are like actual kids. They feel like the youngest that I've seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So really living up to
like
that name.
13-year-old Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, actually,
just
teens.
barely teens. I think it looks good. I'm gonna give it a Brokaw.
Yeah, I agree. Brokaw for me as well.
All right, Holden. Enough trailers. I'm done with it. I don't want to do any more for a week.
We're done. Yes.
Okay. Thank goodness, because I might have had an episode.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Yeah. So, what do we got first, Holden?
First up for other news, we have some Spider-Man news, which I put up top just because we're talking about Spider-Man this week. So, in a interview with Variety, Amy Pascal, the producer of the Spider-Man series for Sony, has officially said that Tom-Holland Spider-Man 4 is in the works, which, I mean, we pretty much knew already. Why wouldn't they? You know, highly successful last movie. Of course, they're going to do that.
Money, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Exactly. But it's currently on hold for the writer's strike, meaning, and they indicated that it's in the writing stage right now. Amy Pascal's exact quote was, "Are we going to make another movie? Of course we are. We're in the process with the writer's strike. Nobody is working during the strike. We're all being supporters, and whenever they get themselves together, we'll get started."
That's nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to see another one of these. I like Tom Holland a lot. I like Spider-Man a lot. So I'm going to give it a Brokaw.
I'll also give it a Brokaw. And then the other piece of Spider-Man news is in that same interview, Amy said that there's going to be a live-action Miles Morales movie in development. This was in response to a question where where Variety asked if we're going to be seeing a live-action Miles Morales movie and like a Spider-Woman movie, and she responded just by saying, "You'll see all of it. It's all happening."
All happening. Anything that can make us money will make us money. That is very not surprising at all that they're going to do a live-action Miles Morales. It's honestly surprising that it's taken this long.
Maybe they're just trying to let the Spider-Verse movies breathe first.
No, I think they just didn't get around to it yet. I mean, it's incredible how fast Miles Morales exploded onto the scene for me because I don't really follow along with the comic book, so I didn't really know anything about him until I think it was the 2018 Insomniac game where he was kind of like a side character that they kind of introduced in that. I'm like, I learned a little bit more about him, and then obviously Into the Spider-Verse came out. Or was that the other way around? Where Into the Spider-Verse was first?
No. PS4 would have come out first because Into the Spider-Verse was like December when that came out.
Just a few months from each other. And obviously Miles Morales being the main character of that movie it's an exciting time. Miles Morales is a great character, I think. He even got his standalone PS4, PS5 game and is going to be a huge part of the sequel. Yeah. So exciting times, exciting to see a live adaptation version of that character, more of that character. I'll give it a Brokaw as well. Yeah,
it also brings up an interesting conversation. I saw someone mention this online when in like response to this news. Like, I wonder if like in the next 10, 15, maybe a little bit longer years, if Miles Morales is going to be like the definitive Spider-Man for like the younger generation.
I could see, Tom Holland, Peter Parker kind of retiring, and then Miles Morales becoming the Spider-Man of the MCU. Like that seems very logical to me because Tom Holland is kind of already stated he wants to do something else.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the logical step. I think it's a good idea for Disney and Marvel to be getting on this now, finding a good Miles Morales to take over that mantle.
Yeah.
And then that way we can have Spider-Man around for that whatever phase 7 or whatever of the MCU whenever we get to that. I don't know. Do you think it'll be a multiverse thing where they introduce him, or do you think he'll actually be in the whatever?
I think he'll be in the universe. I feel like that would make most sense. It seems like for most of Marvel and the MCU stuff right now that they're keeping like a lot of their mainline stuff in the one universe. Like they'll travel to a different universe, have a multiverse of madness or whatever, but pretty much everyone is from this one universe. I would be surprised if it's not that way.
Yeah. All right. So exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I cannot think of a person off the top of my head who would be good because I would like to see
probably
like
just get a young actor. Yeah. I mean, do a Tom Holland again,
Idris Elba.
Yeah. Idris Elba. There we go.
I'm Miles Morales. I'm a teenager.
But yeah.
Dad, I don't want to go to my school.
That's pretty good. He'd have a British accent, but he's still from Brooklyn or whatever.
And then Jason Statham can be Peter Parker.
That'd be good.
And I'm not going to try to do a Jason Statham.
No, it just come out like Mike Ehrmantraut again.
Hey, Miles Morales.
That's pretty good, Jason Statham right there. All right, bro.
I like to drive my Jaguar. Drive your Jaguar, Miles Morales, and I'm Spider-Man.
Speaking of things that Jason Statham is in, I'm going to be talking about some Fast X.
The Meg 2?
Yeah, the Meg 2. There we go.
No, we talked about that. Was that last week we talked about that?
That was like 2 weeks ago,
It just
I think.
blends together, boy, the Meg news.
Yeah, so much Meg news. Anyway, this next piece of news is a spoiler for Fast X. Since it's just a couple weeks away out of it, I'm just going to put that right here.
All right, spoiler alert for Fast 10.
Fast X.
Skip forward twice, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever, and then you'll be
just until we're done talking about it. It's up to you to figure out when we're done.
Figure it out. I'm not putting it in the time codes. 1 minute, just skip ahead. You should be fine.
Anyway, so at the end of Fast X, the mid-credits scene, it was revealed that The Rock is back in the Fast and Furious movies, and he actually came out on social media this week and had some comments about it, kind of clarifying some stuff. He had a whole Twitter video. I watched it. It was just the Rock Twitter video where he's, selfie cam, and he's just, hey guys, everything's great right now.
I'm going to be the president one day.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But just some highlights. He said that he and Vin Diesel had apparently squashed their beef last summer, and he said that they're going to be moving forward in this series to lead with, quote, brotherhood and resolve, and put the fans first.
Nice. As opposed to beef their squash, which they would have taken hamburger meat and it's inserted into a squash.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been as effective.
No, it would not have been. But it would have been maybe tasty, maybe disgusting.
That sounds gross to me.
Does sound gross to me.
I don't know.
You put weird things in a turkey. Why not put weird things in a squash?
Why not? Sound logic there.
But look, it's all about family.
It is, yes.
Sure, great. Brokaw.
But he also said that the next Fast and Furious movie that we're seeing is apparently a standalone Hobbs movie. Did you see that?
No.
He said this was in the description, or like the actual tweet itself. He said that the next Fast and Furious movie we're going to see is a standalone Hobbs movie. Didn't say Hobbs and Shaw 2, just said Hobbs.
I would be in it, but I'm too busy driving my Jaguar.
That's my Jason Statham.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shaw, for telling us why he's not here. But apparently that's going to lead into Fast X Part 2 is what he called it.
Fast 10 Part 2? Did he say Fast X?
I don't think he said it.
If he did, he's out.
I don't know what he said in the video. Out. I was just reading. This is what it said in the tweet itself. But there's no timeline on this or anything. But apparently we're getting a highly anticipated Hobbs standalone movie, Jimmy.
Do you think there was just a nice masculine hug between the two of them?
Yeah, they did.
It's good to have you back, brother.
Oh, I meant to send you. I'll have to send you the video later of Vin Diesel and The Rock. Have you seen that clip from like the Fast and Furious movies where they're standing next to each other?
No.
Okay, it's so funny, but it kind of reminded me of maybe what they did for this. But yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
You excited for a Hobbs movie?
Sure.
Cool. I'm giving it a brokaw. Give me more Fast and Furious content.
Okay, that was more than a minute. Hopefully you didn't get anything spoiled.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Whatever.
If you did, if you hadn't seen Fast and Furious 10 yet,
you probably don't care.
You probably don't care so
much, but anyway, next piece of news. Martin Scorsese's next movie is apparently about Jesus.
It's a Killers of the Flower Moon.
Well, okay, after that movie, it's apparently about Jesus.
Jesus is killing all these people in Oklahoma.
It's a pretty bold move of Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty insensitive, personally.
So apparently after Cannes, he attended the Global Aesthetics of the Catholic Imagination Conference and had a private meeting with Pope Francis. He had a quote that said, I have responded to the Pope's appeal to artists in the only way I know how, by imagining and writing a screenplay for a film about Jesus, and I'm about to start making it.
He already did that.
Yeah,
he already made Silence. He already did that. It's a good movie.
Well,
he also didn't he make the Last
Temptation of Christ. He literally made a movie about Jesus. So
he's got at least 2 movies about Jesus.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
He's got to finish the trilogy, the anthological trilogy.
Maybe he is taking over from Mel Gibson, making The Passion of the Christ 2. Maybe that's what's happening.
Passion of the Christ 3.
Yeah, there we go.
Revelation. Jesus Christ, just come back. the end times.
Do you have thoughts on a new Martin Scorsese Jesus movie?
Well, I don't know what it's about, Holden, frankly. His last Jesus movie, Silence, was pretty good, so I guess I'm going with the Brokaw again. Why not?
I haven't seen any of his Jesus
You know what?
content.
I think I would take another Jesus movie at this point over another gangster movie.
Really?
Oh, I mean, I feel I've seen gangster movies, not my favorite genre.
That's fair.
And I feel like
Is
we've
Jesus
already
movie your favorite genre?
I guess it's. I feel like the Jesus movie, the quality of Jesus movies we've gotten is not to the same caliber of the gangster movies that we've gotten. Like we've already gotten Goodfellas, we've already gotten The Godfather. Like we don't need. The Irishman was really good, right? We don't. They've already like perfected that. Let's see a perfect Jesus thing, because he was perfect. So he should make a perfect movie, right?
There you go.
There you go. Sure,
Putting a little religion in here.
A little religion. You're gonna have faith. The cross necklace. I don't know. Fast 10 was pretty religious.
That's true. It was.
So
They almost blew up the Vatican.
That's true. He saved it though.
Yeah, he did.
With physics.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, this is probably a Bergeron. I don't really have a strong opinion, I guess, on this. It's a new Martin Scorsese movie, so good.
I just like to think that would be everybody's reaction to meeting the Pope. Like Quentin Tarantino goes and meets the Pope, and he's like,
I just gotta make a movie.
I want to make a movie about Jesus Christ now. Does not sound like Quentin Tarantino at all.
It's pretty good. That's a good Mike Ehrmantraut.
Thank you. But yeah, that's where we're at there. Holden, cool. You got How to Train Your Dragon live action adaptation. What's going on?
Yeah, so we had already talked about they're apparently making live action How to Train Your Dragon. It's being directed. I don't remember if we mentioned this last time. It's being directed by Dean DeBlois. I don't know how to say
DeBlois, probably.
It's weird, but he's returning as director. He directed all 3 of the animated movies, apparently. But we have a couple casting updates. Mason Thames or Thames,
probably.
Well, yeah, whatever.
I'm guessing Thames.
Will star as Hiccup, who he's the main actor from The Black Phone, apparently.
Okay.
And Nico Parker, who is Joel's daughter in The Last of Us, is starring as Astrid.
Oh, she was really good in that. So nice. I'll give it a Brokaw. I don't understand why they're making this live action, but maybe it'll be good. Those animated movies are very fun and good looking themselves. I don't think they need a remake, but
especially this soon. But
yeah, it's pretty soon for that. So I guess if you want to usher it in for another generation, I don't know. I feel like those movies are probably pretty popular among the chillins now.
Yeah, probably.
So I Brokaw, I guess.
I'll give it a Brokaw.
A less
good
enthusiastic Brokaw.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not like eager to see it right now, but good casting. So
there you go.
We got some Disney shenanigans.
When don't we have Disney shenanigans?
Hardly ever,
that
really.
Mouse is just always...
He's up to something.
He's just into that no good stuff.
But apparently removing the content from Disney Plus and Hulu is giving Disney a $1.5 billion tax write-off.
That's a chunk of change.
That is
right
a chunk
there.
of change, which I know when HBO did it last year, we were aware it was like for tax write-off reasons, but we didn't really have like an amount as far as I remember. But this is quite the number. And apparently and I'm sure it's more complicated than just this, but a lot of it stems from not having to pay residuals on content that isn't available to people. So I don't know. That seems kind of crappy to me. The amount could actually increase if more content is purged. So there's a good chance that more is going to do that before the end of the year. More is just going to be gone.
Okay. Interesting. I guess it's a money saving thing. Again, here's an idea. How about you just don't make really expensive stuff that nobody's going to watch? Disney,
exactly.
You're not as bad at this as some other streaming companies I know of. Netflix, looking at you. But
Netflix hasn't removed content as far as I can tell, unless it's like except for like the Marvel stuff. But that went to Disney Plus then. So,
but I mean, yeah, look, it's not like they're going to remove like their Marvel series. Right?
No,
it's not
like the big things aren't going to go
away.
away.
No, Hawkeye is gone.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh, our tax write-off.
But yeah, I mean, like big stuff like that and Star Wars, of course, they're not going to get rid of that because it's just like, especially like Marvel, it's like, yeah, I mean, the idea is you're supposed to watch it all to stay up to date, but like it's all big enough that I'm sure people probably watch it regularly. Do people watch Hawkeye regularly? I don't know.
Every Christmas, annual tradition. Look, the stuff I'm gonna watch on Disney Plus is gonna be on there. I don't need to watch the Jeff Goldblum show. That I heard was not that good.
I watched one episode and it was kind of just meh.
Well, look at these Tostitos. I don't remember what happens in the show because I haven't seen it, obviously.
He just goes around the world and interacts with random things and does basically that. So that's pretty accurate.
Never mind. I was going to do another Jason Statham bit, but we need to keep this rolling.
Can't run it dry.
No.
Got to save it for a later day.
Yeah, you got to end on a high, which I obviously was doing earlier. I forgot what I was going to say now. Look, Disney Plus, anything they're going to remove, I probably don't really care about. Stinks for the people who made it.
Yeah,
but I guess it's a business and streaming service. I feel like these major companies are still figuring out how streaming services work. Especially, Disney Plus has still only not even been around for 4 whole years. So
yeah,
I'm still thinking that
we've been around longer than Disney Plus.
That's true. This podcast, and look how much money we make, Holden.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Come on, Disney, figure it out. But they're still figuring out the kinks of this, and obviously they've had 2 different CEOs during that time, and one of them just apparently didn't tell the truth about certain things. So we'll see what happens there. I think. It's a Bergeron for me. Good for them from a business sense. Again, as a viewer, it doesn't really impact me, so Bergeron there, but it does stink for the people who actually made the thing. Hopefully it is available in some other medium like a Pluto or a Tubi, or maybe it's actually even more accessible now. So I hope it just doesn't disappear because that would be a bummer.
Yeah, I think it's a bombadil for me just because I feel bad for those that aren't going to be getting paid residuals, what little there may be those shows. And it's just I don't like content going away. Got to take to the high seas if you want to watch Jeff Goldblum interact with the world, I guess.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on That One Movie podcast.
Thank you, Jeff, for being here. We appreciate you.
I think your Jeff Goldblum's better, though, Holden.
Probably. I'm not going to do it right now.
Oh, come on. All right. I tried. Next thing we got on here, Studio Ghibli.
Yes. One of the two. I call it Ghibli.
It's like GIF.
Yeah, it is. But it's definitely GIF. No, it's GIF.
I don't know.
Most people say GIF. I think the creator says GIF. So say what you will. Anyway, Ghibli. Here we go. So their next movie coming out is a new movie from Hayao Miyazaki, their most well-known director who did like Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, a lot of that stuff. His new movie, How Do You Live, is coming out July 14th in Japan. It's not going to have any promotional materials ahead of it.
I saw this. No trailers.
No trailers.
Well, here, what do they mean by no promotional material? Because you at least I feel like you could have a cool marketing campaign of like, just a picture of him and just like, here's the movies he made. He's making a new one. It comes out this time. It's his last one, and just do like a viral campaign that way and just be like, what's it about? Or it'd be funny to like make a bunch of fake trailers of just things that it's like just ridiculous. That's not it. It's like, this movie is not this or something. It would be cool to do some sort of viral marketing campaign that way. But if they're literally doing nothing, absolutely nothing.
They have a poster and that's it. But the poster really doesn't give away much. So
see, that's not nothing. Then.
Yeah.
A poster is not nothing. You got to commit to it. If you're going to do absolutely nothing, do absolutely nothing. But that would be stupid.
See, I'm okay with how they're going about it, though. So they the producer on the film, Toshio Suzuki, said this, said everyone is drowning in information nowadays. Sometimes people go see a movie just to check the information they already know from what was revealed during the movie's promotion. That is giving too much to customers, and it's like they're being deprived of what really makes it fun. So I don't know. I think the idea, it is very novel, especially since we always talk about trailers and everything, just not having that available.
Well, the best trailer is the one that gives you the tone, the mood, without giving away any of the plot.
Yeah, and that is, and I always appreciate that, but I'm kind of excited for this movie that I do want to see that I just am not going to know anything about. But at the same time, since it's coming out in Japan in July, there is a good chance that its U.S. release will have a trailer later on. So that might just be for Japanese audiences.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting concept. I'm going to go Bergeron.
I'll go Brokaw. I think it's really cool.
We'll see if it costs them money.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll skip that Barbie news because we have a
There's
lot.
no pink paint left, Holden. You can't paint in your bedroom, okay?
Yeah, apparently there's
Barbie
no pink
used
paint
all
because
the
of
pink
Barbie.
paint. All right, there you go.
There you go. What was this you wrote down about Tom Cruise, Jimmy?
Tom Cruise is mad that Mission Impossible 7, Holden, is getting kind of booted off IMAX screens before he thinks it should be. All right? Because Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer has like exclusivity from July 21st on for like 3 weeks. So there's a long time to have IMAX
Because there's like
screens.
nothing else after that. They don't need IMAX really.
And Mission Impossible has it July 12th through the 20th, so like 9 days. And that is not enough for Tom Cruise. So he's like demanding that Oppenheimer be pushed back a week, essentially, is what my understanding from it. And look, I get it. Like, it's a bummer for you to work hard on this movie and launch yourself off a cliff in a motorcycle like a dozen times. But I don't know. I like Tom Cruise. Do you really? I'm not going to feel bad for you. I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to feel bad for you, Tom Cruise. Like, you have enough money. Your beliefs are very interesting. And I don't agree with them personally. And
you can call him crazy, Jimmy.
Look, I don't want the Scientologists.
That's
after
true.
us,
They might.
Holden, all right. They could derail this amazing thing we have going on here. All right. So I don't feel bad. Christopher Nolan, look, he has been like an IMAX champion since like day one too. So like I don't know. Did he do anything before The Dark Knight with IMAX? He's just been an IMAX guy forever. So like if you are going to lose out to someone for 3 weeks, it's him. And I don't know. Mission Impossible will make plenty of money, I think. And it's not like it's Dead Reckoning Part 2, the final one.
Yeah.
So
got another one to go.
Why don't Paramount could just move the release date back, but I don't know.
See, honestly, my only takeaway with this is we need more IMAX screens.
There you go. We don't have one around here.
We don't have one. So. Yeah, it doesn't really affect us. It's just kind of funny watching this controversy, quote unquote, unfold.
Yeah. Bergeron for me.
Yeah, I'll give it a Bergeron as well.
Hold on, maybe a little TOG, but it's still TOMP a little bit. I don't know. It's like a
kind of in between.
In between, it's a Bergeron.
This is a Bergeron of Tom's.
But it was a big week for VR/AR. First off, we had Meta, Facebook, announced the new Meta Quest 3, which is going to be 40% slimmer. All right, in the front, which is probably going to be a lot nicer because it'll help with the balance, make it feel a lot more comfortable. Bulky. I imagine. It's got double the GPU processing power of the Meta Quest 2. Slightly higher resolution displays, but the bigger upgrade here is that it's instead of a Fresnel lens, it's going to be a pancake, which I think increases the lens. It increases like the sweet spot in it, so it's not as like finicky. So some advantages, some disadvantages of that, but people seem to really like them. I think the PSVR 1 is a pancake lens, but I don't know how important that is because the resolution on those screens are not necessarily good. But the other kind of big upgrade here is full color pass-through for the cameras. So it's going to be VR, but it also will have more like AR capabilities as well, augmented reality, kind of seeing the world as it is and interacting with virtual things in our world, our reality.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, my Rift S I use at home. Anytime it looks through, it's all gray and kind of blocky and everything. Just doesn't look very good. But that'd be kind of cool if AR technology stuff.
Controllers now have haptics built in, so a big upgrade there for them. It's going to cost $499 for the base model with 128 gigs, or for $50 extra bucks, you can get the 256 gigabyte model. Sure. Noteworthy with this is Meta also announced a software update that's going to increase the Meta Quest 2's performance by like 20%, which is interesting. And they also dropped the price back to $299, which is what it was before
the controversial price hike. Yeah.
But I think either of these models is actually going to be pretty solid for anybody looking to get into the VR game.
Yeah. No, I've thought about getting into the Meta Quest just because that's what they're going with now. And I don't know if I can personally justify getting PSVR or anything, especially since there's a lot of PC games I want to play with VR. So yeah, I mean, this is tempting, especially since it's going up to like that 256 gigabyte and have plenty of space on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to think about it.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, the other big one, Apple, just a couple hours ago, basically.
Right before we started.
When we are doing this podcast on Monday afternoon, is they announced the Vision Pro, the Apple Vision Pro, their AR VR headset that has been rumored for several years, and it is. It is interesting to say the least. It is going to be a conversation starter for a lot of people. Yikes. But for one, it's the resolution of the screens is insane. It's 4K per eye, which is like, I mean, literally like quadruple the PSVR 2 that I have. I'm pretty sure. It's pretty.
Add it together, you got 8K. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, there you go. Add it together. But like, so when you're actually doing, like, you're looking at things in VR, it's, if you see like a 2-dimensional screen, it will actually be 4K. It won't be blurry. It will actually be crisp, which is going to be a big feature for this. So I'm guessing it's got to just look incredible.
Sure.
I don't think they said OLED or anything, so I don't know about the black levels, but I would guess the color, Apple's really good with color, so I'm guessing that'll be good.
I can't imagine they're going to skimp out on it for, well, soon reveals the price.
Yeah, but essentially what looks really cool on this is just, so the UI is basically, it seems like you kind of have 3 kind of default panels that you can add some things to, different widgets, different apps and stuff. You want to browse the internet. But then the parts that I was interested in was like a huge movie theater, which you can do with other VR headsets, but like the quality of the screen is at best like 1080p. So it's not ideal for me. I'd rather just watch things on my screen that I have. Whereas this was like maybe legitimately like a really nice looking screen.
Sure.
And you can blend it in with different environments and that sort of thing. Bob Iger came on to say like, oh, here's something we're doing with Disney. And they showed this whole montage of different things. But one of the things is like, you could watch The Mandalorian and like Luke's land speeder on Tatooine at nighttime.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
That's
but they had
cool.
They had a bunch of cool concepts in Disney's little trailer. They had like, you're watching a basketball game and you can like see the court and the players like actually like miniature below you, so you can see like what's happening on the screen here, but then also like this kind of 3D mode and all these graphics for when people are scoring and stuff. It was pretty cool technology, and you can see how this would be the future of stuff. But also the thing cost $3,500. Holy smokes. I was thinking like watching this, I'm like, you could get some people for $1,500, but it's Apple, so it's gonna be $2,000. And then they said $3,500. I'm like, no way. This is gonna be a thing that is gonna be a few years down the line before this is commonplace, I think.
Well, I saw, and what briefly I was able to look on the internet before we started recording, I saw a lot of people comparing this to like Google Glass. And how
a little bit.
Like, and obviously this is more advanced several years later and everything, but there's a lot of people are speculating that this is just going to come and go and not make any impact just with that price point.
Yeah,
really.
Google Glass made waves back in the day.
Right.
If you don't know what that is, dude, they like I think they like parachuted down and like biked in and whatever, and they're recording it on their Google Glass. You're like, what if you could see the weather in the top right corner of your glasses? Yeah. But the interesting thing about the design of this is the whole front is like this curved glass piece. It kind of looks like if you took a Quest, 2 or 3 or whatever, and blended in with like snowboard goggles, ski goggles, and they look pretty cool, to be honest. It's a nice design. The whole thing is like,
it does look it's very sleek,
tinted glass on the front, but it has like pass through. So you can like sometimes see the person's eyes, I guess. I don't know if it's like actually projected or if it's just like you can see through it. But then if they're like watching a movie or something, it will like have some sort of display going over it to indicate that, oh, this person is watching a movie, so I shouldn't disturb them. But if you really want to, you can go up to them and like the cameras and the sensors on the outside will detect that a person's coming. So it will like literally like open up that part of the vision for you, which is interesting. So there's that. They can record like 3D video with this headset. So they're like, oh, it's my daughter's birthday party. And this guy's literally wearing this headset, recording this video of her blowing out the candles with her friends. And then apparently you can like watch it back in 3D, and it's like you're there, which it probably is. It's probably really cool, but who's going to be the dad walking around with
the kid's birthday
the
party.
Vision
Whoa.
Pro? But hey, look. The thing I would say with this is when the AirPods were first announced, everybody was like, that is the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. That was like the universal thing.
That is
and now
true, but
everybody's wearing AirPods. All right.
AirPods
and
weren't $3,500 though.
No, they were not. So this is going to be, and it comes out like early next spring. Other weird things with it is like 3D video calls. It like will like have like a 3D version of you, a virtual version of you that I guess it's doing some sort of projection of your face. But the video calls seemed interesting. It was like FaceTime. You could like see a big screen of whatever you're working on, and then the floating screens like that, which I see could be helpful. But I don't know. There's a lot of weird things here. No controllers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's all
just a lot of pinching. Like there's a lot of pinching going on. Just pinch, pinch, pinch. So watch out. If you might get pinched if you're around someone with the Vision Pro.
I do got to say, so I'm kind of just the one thing I'm disappointed about this is like it doesn't seem to be able to play games.
So that's the weird thing. So they were like talked about Apple. I was waiting for them to talk about games because they're like, this is a crazy headset. You'd think there'd be some sort of game
for this amount of money. I want to be able to play VR games,
and it's just like you can play Apple Arcade games on your 2D screen. Woo. And you got to pair a PlayStation controller. They got like some sort of external battery pack you can hook up to it too. It's like MagSafe and just hooks on the end. You just put it in your pocket, which I don't know. I guess that's kind of nice, but I feel like that would get undone relatively easily if you like swung your arm. I don't know. It seems weird. There's not a bigger emphasis on the gaming side of it. Yeah, it's like I don't know. I'd rather just buy a really nice TV for that amount of money.
Yeah, get a nice TV and a Quest 3, and you're still spending less money.
Yeah. Excuse me. And it's not like you can plug your PlayStation 5 into this thing and game. It's like, okay, I have this nice TV for watching movies and stuff, but I can't use any of my gaming consoles on it or anything.
Gotta play Apple Arcade.
And then it's
play
like,
Angry Birds.
Honey, you want to watch a movie? And it's like, well, I have my headset, and you don't also have a headset because each one's $3,500. They for glasses, they're like, oh, we're gonna have like these magnetic pop-in things that we worked with Zeiss. Those are gonna be several $100s, I bet, to pop in. So if you have glasses, you're gonna be spending like $4,000 on this thing.
Oh my god,
before tax. So I don't know. It's on one hand, I can see the future of it. On the other hand, I'm like, there wasn't enough. I'm like, who is gonna be getting this? Who is actually gonna be getting this?
Especially just like right now with like inflation and it's hard enough for people to afford other things, and not a $3,500 headset.
I think at $1,500, there's a chance people get this thing, and that's pushing it. And I think it's like you have to really justify it. At $3,500, you just got to like have money to throw around, because that's ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's the first generation of a thing, so hopefully it gets cheaper, it gets better. They find out what people want from it, and hopefully it pushes the other headset makers. That technology along, so it just what is it? The rising tide lifts all boats, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know what I'm trying to say.
No, I get it.
Whatever floats your boat.
Sure,
that's the same thing. But I'll give it a Bergeron.
I feel like it is really cool, but I don't know, that $3,500 price point alone might make me give it a Bombadil.
It'd be cool to go to an Apple store to try it out.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I foresee this being a failure in at least in the short term on their part. So I don't know. Bombadil, I think.
Okay. Just as a fun side note, Hideo Kojima made an appearance to say they were porting Death Stranding to the Mac. And apparently Apple's releasing a lot of new developer software, so porting games to the Mac should be a lot easier than it was
Thank
before.
God.
So hopefully we get more Mac games that run decently. That would be nice.
Yeah, because as is, don't get very many.
But you can play Resident Evil 8, Holden.
That's true.
You can play that in like one of the Tomb Raider games. You can play them.
At least that. At least there's that.
Those are like the 2 games we got, and we'll milk it for everything we've had. But that was fun just to be like, I'm like, Hideo Kojima, Bob Iger. They were just pulling out all the stops for this one. But Holden, that is the news this week.
Perfect.
So we can dive into our in-depth spoiler kind of recap discussion of Succession Season 4. So if you have not seen Succession, look at the time codes down in the description.
Skip it.
Watch
Succession.
Watch Succession. All right, do it, and then come back and listen to that, or skip over it and then come back later. So we're gonna dive into Succession starting right now.
All right. Succession season 4 finished. The series finished this last Sunday.
Someone succeeded.
Someone did succeed. Yeah, this is going to be, like we said before, full spoilers for the series as a whole. But previously on the podcast, we had talked about up through the Connor's wedding episode, season 4, episode 3. So now we've got thoughts on the rest of the season coming your way. I mentioned to Jimmy before this, I binged like half of the season in one night. It is clouded together in my mind. And then like starting the very next day through up until now, I've had a very busy weekend. So I haven't like had a ton of time to like sit down and think about what I think about everything too much. So I'm going to have Jimmy probably take charge on this.
First off, if you want to see like a detailed breakdown of the finale, I did do a video on YouTube. So check that out. But, again, just talking about things or storylines or things that we liked. I just really enjoyed the season after Logan died. I mean, I enjoyed it before Logan died too, but I actually thought it was maybe even better afterwards. Personally, the whole thing with Lucas Madsen, Alexander Skarsgård, I thought he was just like a really good antagonist. For the rest of the show, and I particularly liked the one where they go to, where was it, Norway or something?
Yeah, I think it was Norway.
Where for like the company retreat, and they're all feeling each other out, and they're like, "Oh gosh, I want to keep my job through this merger." So you have like Tom and Greg going through that, but then you also have Shiv kind of undermining the brothers and Kendall and Roman trying to get this deal done, but also trying to blow up the deal at the same time.
Yeah, kind of doing their own thing. There's a lot of layers to it. But I think one of the things that makes it interesting is because it's the first time this show really has like a clear antagonist, I guess. Like, because I feel like the rest of the show, it's siblings against each other and everything, and there still is that here, but like it's a lot more. It's kind of satisfying to watch because it is finally the siblings coming together and they're against this guy who is overall probably considered the antagonist, as you said. So
I guess it depends on who you were rooting for earlier.
Yeah,
because I mean Logan can be like the villain a lot of times, especially stopping like Kendall from achieving things. Or it depends on who you're rooting for. But yeah, I just thought he was great. Like sending bricks of his blood or something.
He's just
his like aid is really weird. He is not a good person.
No,
at all.
He's such a weirdo, and he's like, I'm trying to remember how I described it to someone. He's like, he like thinks he's pretentious, but he's just like annoying. Like he's like the guy who's like, oh, I don't care about any of this, but he's still the one who's like buying these $1 million homes and everything. Like, he's very fake. He puts on like a face of just not caring about anything.
Well, he's a complete facade because they're even like, he doesn't even know how to code.
Yeah.
Like, he's just everything about him, his whole persona has been manufactured. But he's just surrounded by yes people all the time because he's super rich.
Yeah.
So everybody just sucks up to him, and he just gets to live out this persona that doesn't actually reflect who he is, and who he is actually this terrible
pathetic
person.
Horrible person.
On the other hand, everybody in the show is that.
Pretty terrible, yeah. It's just a matter of who you're rooting for and who's the least horrible at any given moment.
Yeah, and I like that too. It's like whenever I was rooting for one particular character, they would do something terrible. Like, oh, you know what? I would like to see Roman. And then Roman just starts firing people and just is awful to everyone. Yeah. And then you're like, well, maybe Shiv. But then Shiv just undermines everybody, and she's just incredibly rude to Tom, and then Tom's just incredibly rude back to her.
I think in general I rooted for Tom the most. I think I feel like everyone else, like I maybe that was just me getting used to the series, but like it got to a point where I would get so used to like Roman doing something stupid or like Shiv doing something bad, and Tom does that too, but I feel like it's easier to root for Tom because he's also just like kind of an underdog character in a way. Like no one really takes him seriously at all. So I don't know.
Tom was always, I said at the last discussion that Tom was my favorite character, and I thought he was the best character in the show. So yeah, before the finale, like right before it started, I was like, would be kind of cool if Tom won. But then I thought about, no, that's not gonna happen. And then like they set it up in the finale where like Lucas is like, I'm actually gonna, I'm looking for someone, not Shiv maybe, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this actually happening? But then Greg, does the Judas, he reveals the plan to Kendall, and then I'm like, oh man, that would have been cool. And somehow it still ends up working out Tom succeeding. So
that is what I had spoiled for me, was that Tom won.
Too bad.
I was angry about that. Yeah. So slight tangent. I was just on Facebook the other day, doing the thing.
That's your first mistake.
Yeah. I don't know why I was on there, but I got an ad for the Succession official Facebook page, and it just said like, it was just a picture of Tom and just said Tom Wamsgam, CEO or something like that. I'm like, it was posted like a day after the episode came out. I'm like, why is this an ad? I was so mad. Like, I was doing so good staying away from it. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's too bad, Holden. Maybe if you just kept up and watched it.
Yeah, I guess.
Not having
I have to watch it the night of, apparently.
Yep. But we're just not going Facebook. I mean, you made 2 mistakes.
That's
there,
true.
So I feel a little bit bad for you, but I don't feel that bad for you. Is that Tom Cruise over there? Oh, I don't have enough IMAX. I only have 9 days of IMAX screens. I have 0, Tom. I have 0 days of IMAX screens. Put this podcast on IMAX. We need an IMAX camera for the video pod.
That'd be really good. We should get a VR camera, so then people can experience us in VR.
Yeah, well, we got to get the Apple Vision Pro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there we go. And then Emily can just stand back there and just
watch us the whole time as we talk. Be quiet and just watch.
Oh man. So just other things about this show. The music is awesome. Just throughout.
Oh yeah, of course.
The theme is great. Mm-hmm. It just really adds to the mood and just the tension builds through it. It's just a perfect compliment for it. I love how it balances the classical with like the hip hop sort of motifs. I think it's really effective. I loved Tom and Shiv's relationship.
Yeah,
you had
especially in that final season, how that evolves.
Mm-hmm. And you have the scene where they're out on the balcony, and they just let it. They literally go get some air, and they let it all air out.
Yeah,
it's just kind of nice. But that was just like a tough scene to watch.
And because they were doing better.
Well, yeah, like they're at the beginning of the episode, they're texting about like their amazing nighttime sessions that they're having.
Yeah.
And then
meetings.
By the end of the episode, it's just at the lowest point it could possibly be, but they're like still together. And
it's probably one of the more interesting relationships just I've seen on TV in general, because it is like they're I think they feel bound to each other just based on like their intertwining, business relationships and everything, in addition to their personal ones. And so there's some level of care there, but there's also just like they also just kind of hate each other.
It's like it's tragic because on one hand, I think it could have been a nice relationship if Shiv never did cheat on Tom with what's his name, the campaign guy, Nate, and then they have the whole like prenuptial talk right before their wedding,
open marriage
thing, and that's the contract. And so Tom upholds that, Shiv upholds that, but then Shiv is like actually not okay with that in reality. And Tom's like, well, what do you want? Like, and, Shiv is just the best at just destroying people, including herself.
I was about to say, I feel like she does the best job of doing that to herself.
Her name is perfect because she literally just shivs Kendall. She shivs Tom and she shivs herself. But she just basically destroyed Tom and made him turned him into one of the disgusting boys. Now, look, Tom is an adult man. He can control his actions. Doesn't make it justified. But she also goes and obviously doesn't vote for Kendall in the finale, destroying his chance of living out his dreams. So.
Yeah, I mentioned it last time we talked about the show, but she's very headstrong, but I don't think she thinks she is. She makes brash decisions and then has to run with it. And but I think she thinks she's a lot more methodical than she is. But a lot of her big moves feel like knee jerk, oh, I did this and now I have to live with the consequences kind of thing.
I think she's just very overconfident.
Yeah,
in her plans,
feeds
and she's
into
always
it.
scheming, and it just blows up in her face. She thinks she's really good and would be a really good CEO, but then like you actually look at her track record and all these things in it, and she thinks she's playing other people when she's getting played all the time. And look, Shiv may have been the best CEO of the three. I think Roman's probably the worst.
Yeah, Roman's the worst.
Kendall's a wild card. He could have been really effective. I enjoyed his speech with the Live Plus, or what was it called?
Living Plus.
Living Plus. That was great. How he's basically and Tom's like, I gotta go out there. You just promised them eternal life. I'm a Waystar citizen. You're a Waystar citizen. You're a Waystar citizen. Could you imagine at that point someone tells you like Tom Wambsgans is going to be CEO right after that moment?
No, couldn't.
And I love like him becoming CEO and immediately all the old guard starts sucking out to him. You got Hugo and you got Frank and what's the other one? Carl. Which I love them. They're great too.
Yeah, Frank and Carl are like two of my favorite characters. They're just like they're these two little guys that they scheme and make little quips and everything. And they're probably some of my favorite side characters.
And then you have Roman, who he's like, tries to puff up his feathers and look all big and tough, but he's just the most fragile and insecure of all of them. And he tries to get rid of Jerry. Like, I don't need you anymore, Jerry. And she just puts him in his place completely. And he cannot handle seeing her or being in the same room as her. It's just Roman. It was just such a roller coaster for me in Roman all season. Cause I'm like, at some points I'm like, he's the most rationally thinking person here. And then he just skewed completely to the opposite extreme.
Yeah. He's kind of headstrong in a different way from Shiv but that's kind of what like Logan saw as his like strength. I feel like Roman worked from a big place of like, I don't know if I want to say like emotion or anything. He would just like make these big decisions.
Roman does not care what other people think. I think Shiv is like I want to worry about perceptions and stuff. Roman does not care. Roman just does.
Roman does what like feels right to him, and I feel like he does have a good gut in some ways for the business. So he'll just make these random decisions that may seem erratic at first, but sometimes they do work out in his favor.
I mean,
but
he got Macon to win the election.
Exactly. It's his biggest flaw though too, I think, everyone sees that as probably more of a flaw than a strength, honestly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's also funny.
He is funny. He's probably one of the funniest.
Good lines. And Kieran Culkin, his performance as Roman was exceptional.
He seems to just be playing himself. I mean, I don't think he's like as much of a jerk in real life, but if you've seen him like talk in real life, his like mannerisms are just like the same.
They are, but he said like I think he really like there were a lot of emotional scenes for Roman, and he's like you could see him like in the inside the episodes after each one. I don't know if you watched them since you binged the final few.
I didn't watch.
But he's just like I was just sad for like 8 hours straight, like for a month, and I didn't have anybody to talk to about it because nothing was actually real, and so. I think he put a lot into his performance. The performances in general just phenomenal from literally everyone. Obviously, Jeremy Strong as Kendall was fantastic again this season, especially his big blow up in the finale where Kendall just shows his true colors of like literally does not have a purpose in life without
the business.
This goal of becoming the CEO. It's like he'd almost rather have the chance of becoming CEO for the rest of his life than to just get locked out of it, essentially. Forever.
Yeah. Kendall is always the one that I've felt like would be I feel like he is the obvious pick, and the show makes that known several times. But yeah, there's so many times where he just like knocks himself down just because he's so, I don't know how to describe his behavior. Erratic, I guess. He does, but I don't know. Great performance. He's also probably the most understated out of all of them for the most part. I also found it interesting. I was thinking about it after the finale ended, but like there's a strong like water motif with him throughout the whole series.
There is.
Like it's such a big part of his character. I mean, with him like getting in the car accident in the first season and almost drowning himself last season, and there's all the swimming, and of course the show ends with him looking out of water and everything. Yeah. So Yeah, I don't know. Kendall is probably one of my favorite characters. I know I'm saying that for like all of these because they're all great, but he probably is like second or third for me just because I think it's like so hard to watch him half the time, but I think that's part of the appeal.
Yeah, and I think so. Like Ted Lasso just finished too. What a week for television, by the way. Succession, Barry, and Ted Lasso all ending within a few days of each other. But one of the biggest things with Ted Lasso, which I just made a video on that final season, is they tried to give like every single character an arc, and it just is a mess, and it doesn't work at all. Whereas Succession, like the side characters are great, and they're great in Ted Lasso too, but they don't try to give them an arc necessarily.
No,
Or if
like
they do,
Frank
it's
and
really
Carl,
it's just they're kind of one note characters, but they're really good just dressing on the side of this corporate setting. And I think that's what one of the strengths of Succession is. They focus on the main characters. They do have all these things going on at once, but they don't overdo it ever. It's never like I can't keep track of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is a good point. Yeah, not every side character needs an arc every season. A lot of them maybe had more things to do in earlier seasons, but they're still very welcome presences here. So.
Yeah, they're just awesome.
So good. They're so funny. Pretty much all of them are funny.
Yeah, they got I forgot how funny this show is. There's so many good just one-liners throughout that. It's also too, and comparing it to Ted Lasso again, where it's like one of my problems with the final season of Ted Lasso was like every joke felt written by somebody off screen and didn't feel like a joke that someone would actually make up in the moment. Whereas Succession, yeah, you have the witty jokes and stuff, but it's like someone would actually come up with that joke, or they'll flop the delivery a little bit when they're saying it.
A lot of it's improvised, so I mean that makes sense. A lot of it probably is come up with on the spot. Maybe these people. Well, maybe that's why I made that comment about Kieran Culkin acting so similar to Roman. Maybe this is like how they respond to things in real life with jokes and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought the humor was really good. The performance is amazing. I just think the overall like pacing, and again, Succession does an amazing job of like every season is just this consistent build of tension.
Yeah.
Every single episode leading up to this climax. And I guess we can talk about just overall, what was your general sense of the finale? I really liked it, and I had to go in depth about in my video all the things I liked about it, but I would like to just hear your overall reaction. Do you think it was a satisfying conclusion to the show?
I think it's satisfying. I may have had it overhyped for me a bit. I liked it. And I thought it was, I'm not sure I'd say I loved it, but at the same time, I don't know what I was like, if I would expect anything else. I don't really know if I have any qualms with it. It's just, I feel like everyone was saying how great of a finale of television it was for a series finale. And it was very good. I don't know. It just didn't quite click with me like it did a lot of other people. But like I said, I don't think I really have any issues with it. I like where it ended up and everything. But yeah, I don't know.
I really liked it. I did think it was very good. I actually ended up seeing it twice because I wanted to do it justice in my analysis of it. But I just really like how it kept you kind of on your toes the whole time. Like it literally introduces like, oh, Tom could be CEO now, and that conversation.
A lot of random last minute additions, but it, as you said, adds to it.
And you had the really nice moment of the kids, like when Shiv finds out. Obviously, she doesn't take it very well, but then they're the team, and they're gonna get it's them versus Madsen and Tom now.
Sure,
and they're gonna try to figure out how to get it done. And you have that whole nice scene, the meal for the king.
Yeah.
And the Roman licking the cheese. Oh, I can't stop licking the cheese, mommy. And they're all doing their British accents, except Sarah Snook, who's actually British.
She's Australian. Close enough.
They were British at one point. I guess you could say that about, I don't know.
About us too.
Yeah. Well, Britain was like the entire world at one point almost. So, everybody's a little.
Say that about anyone.
But they all, they're the ones doing the accents. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I did too.
And it's just a nice moment. It's like the one moment of happiness before Shiv just decides to change her mind. And that was one of the things I talked about in my video is like, what do you think Shiv's motivation was? What do you think pushed her to do it? Because watching it twice there's not like one moment where there's a shift.
Well, I mean, I've only seen it the one time. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's her just maybe this is like the easy out answer. It's just her taking a step back and looking at like Kendall, and like Kendall is not the right way to go. And like, I feel like it's also her looking, I mean, I feel like she's had a reassessment this season. Granted, all of her troubles with Tom and everything, you know, may have thrown a wrench in it, but I think she's had a reassessment of Tom in general and his like ability to like, get things done and whatnot. Because I mean, with how last season ended and how sly he was, and that completely caught her off guard. I feel like her seeing that and whatever else he's done this season maybe is like, okay, maybe Tom could do this.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think it's a multitude of things.
Yeah,
So I think it's
several
like,
things.
I don't like Kendall. I'm upset that it's not me. I'm still upset about that.
There's definitely some
Tom
jealousy.
will be the other person. So I might have a little bit of control there too.
A little in still, yeah.
I'm also married to him. So I do think there's a
There's
bunch
some
going on.
selfish angle there, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Kendall literally attacks Roman and Shiv, and he's like, "It doesn't make any sense." You can just see the veins popping out of his head.
Yeah, that was the best part of the episode, because it was just like such a blow up, and it was, I mean, as you said, just a culmination of Kendall, you know, not having anything in his life, like just being this pathetic man, and ultimately not having anything afterwards.
Yeah, and Roman just ends up right back where he started, just sipping some
At a
drinks.
bar, yeah.
I think,
Seems content.
yeah. Roman is the one that really has the epiphany of like, this is all just BS. Like,
Yeah.
this is
He's
like,
going to get a bunch of money. He's probably fine with it. And
yeah, billions of dollars
Yeah.
each one of them. Which again, to Kendall, it's like he would trade it, all of it. He would live in poverty just to be the CEO.
Yeah.
Just to like
He wants
feel
the
like
power.
he was. I think it's just like even like thinking like
Sense of
posthumous
belonging.
approval from his father. Like it's just like that is his main drive.
Well, that's
just
why-
the chance to show that he can do it, and he never really got the chance, which I think is like adds to the tragedy of his character.
That's why he gets so hung up on that piece of paper with the underline / cross out or
yeah,
whatever.
that's a great bit too.
Or
I forgot
like
about that.
like that pretty much
Definitely crossed out. I'm
Yeah.
team crossed out looking at it.
I mean, I get the other argument because I have done that before, underlining stuff, but yeah, it feels like crossed out. But that one piece of paper just like derails everything essentially. Like it throws some ideas in Kendall's head that yes, he's the one that should be doing this, and this is just affirmation that it should be me. And so then that kind of, it doesn't put a huge rift between him and Roman for a while, but it definitely pushes Shiv away more, and it's kind of the beginning of the end of their dynamic.
This is my last comparison to Ted Lasso, but this was just a fun fact that I don't know if people who watched both finales might have caught this, but so the person who plays the Roy mom, that actress
Charlotte, isn't that her name?
or something like that, she plays Rebecca, who's the owner of AFC Richmond and Ted Lasso, her mom as well.
Okay.
And in the show, in Succession, she tells the kids that they should sell and they should let the deal go through. And then the finale of Ted Lasso, she tells her daughter, you should sell the club. And so I just thought it was funny that this same actress playing this mother character was telling this person to sell it and just move on with your life. I just thought it was literally within a few days of each other. So I thought that was a funny coincidence. I don't know if people caught that. And it's not really a spoiler for each one because not a big character in either show. But that was funny. Other things to talk about. I just the funeral episode was on actually that didn't resonate with me as much as it did for other people. I did enjoy it. I did like the speeches, the eulogies. I thought it was interesting to learn more about obviously Logan's background. Thinking
Ewan,
he gave,
yeah.
was it a sister polio and coming over and during the war or whatever it was. That was a really interesting eulogy. And then Kendall's response to it too, and Roman's whole breakdown.
Yeah. I remember I mean, I thought Ewan's speech was good. Honestly, Kendall's speech I thought was all right for Kendall. And Shiv's I remember being like very like distant. It felt like it was just like my dad was a bad person, described a lot of the ways he was bad. Oh, but he was a good father. Like throw that in at the end. It was
I don't know, Shiv. I don't think he was.
No.
Like I just don't think he was a good dad.
It was hers was easily the most like I don't know if you should be saying this at a funeral or anything, but yeah, they were all good. They were all good in different ways.
Shiv is going to be a terrible mother.
Oh yeah.
And yeah,
it's largely her parents' fault.
Yeah, she did not have good examples.
No.
But you had the nice moment of all of like Logan's exes and whatever.
Yeah, I liked that a
getting
lot.
together, and that was kind of fun to see their interactions. And I guess one of them was like Brian Cox's actual wife.
Oh, was it the one we hadn't seen before?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of a fun little Easter egg too.
I really think, I know she wasn't in like this season that much, but like Carrie's like grieving acting was really good.
Yeah, it was. It was very convincing.
Yeah, she was only in like a few scenes post Logan dying, but it was like the most realistic it felt.
Yeah. I'm just Greg. I love Tom just like putting the sticker on him from Connor's the auction, or the way Connor, that system that he made was actually genius for going through all the Logan stuff with the stickers. I feel like that's not original. I feel like I'd have never heard of that before, but legitimately I thought it was a good idea. And I did not appreciate them mocking him, because I was like, this is a good idea for something that's a little complicated. So
I thought it was funny that he's like, oh, I took a first pass.
Oh yeah, that was funny too. He took the medals or whatever. And then Kendall and Roman are fighting over like one random like dagger or something.
Yeah, nothing much.
Game on, brother, or whatever he says.
Connor doesn't get a ton to do, but he did give me the one moment, and it was just like a random moment that I teared up at, and it was like I don't remember if it was the election episode or the one before. Or like I think the context was Roman was trying to get him to like drop out or whatever, which I know happened in those two episodes.
To Mencken, yeah. So
and
Mencken
like
would get the States.
And Connor's like, no, I'm not going to do that because Willa says I shouldn't, and she's the one person that actually cares about me.
Yeah.
And I was like, tears came to my eyes in that like one instant. I'm like, oh my god, like it's. Ugh.
I liked the bit where he was negotiating with Mencken for an ambassadorship.
Yeah,
and they're like, Slovenia Slovak. He's like, no, none of the slows. And
what was it he settled on? Was it
Romania or something?
Yeah, I can't. Some
was
random.
it Slovenia? It might have been. I don't know. It was like Eastern European. They said it in the finale. I needed to watch it a third time apparently.
Yeah, but yeah, that was really funny.
And Roman's like, I don't know, Willow. Mencken might not get elected. You might actually have to live with Connor. The con heads. His speech. He's like, America, you blew it. He would have been a terrible president.
He would have been. It was really funny though. His whole election subplot, and ultimately didn't really amount to much, but neither did Connor.
I love how he's like the least power hungry person, but he still like wants to be the president of the United States. Yeah, like he's the least power hungry of them.
And he's never once cared about like being part of the company. No. That's like not once in the whole series was a motivation for him.
Not at all.
So I did like that.
But yeah, it's nice that Tom doesn't forget about Greg. He keeps him around. Maybe slashes his salary a bunch. Yeah, but. I would love the scene where Greg like uses the translator app to figure out what's going on, because Greg is like Tom, and the fact that he's an outsider who has no business, and he just figures he learns the game.
Well, and I think
that's great.
I mean, that's ultimately why Tom keeps him around, because he sees a lot of himself in Greg, but also like even though there was that Judas moment, I think that was Tom could see that as well played kind of move, like so. He probably has respect for that play, even if it, could have adversely affected him.
Yeah. Well, he does smack him in the bathroom.
Yeah, he does.
But it works out for him, so he can forgive him.
Yeah.
But I love the moment where the election episode where the guy gets whatever LaCroix in his eye, or what was it? No, wasabi in his eye, and then Greg pours the Croix over it.
I'm trying to remember.
You don't remember this moment?
I don't think so.
It's like an all-time great Greg moment in the show. The guy's like they have to like bring him out to talk on ATN during the election, and he's like he accidentally gets wasabi like in his eyes, and Greg like pours LaCroix over, and like, Greg, you're making it's lemon, it's not whatever.
I don't really remember that.
It's
no.
really funny.
Like I
You should
said,
go back and
binged
rewatch
so
that
much
scene.
of this in one night.
You should go back and rewatch that scene at the
Okay.
release. It's a really good one.
I can do that.
Poor Tom didn't get a lot of sleep, but he is just like the most just nothing of a CEO. He's like the least headstrong, most just puppet CEO.
Obviously a
essentially.
puppet.
And Shiv does not realize that is she says like she tells Madsen like, oh, I'll be your puppet CEO. But it's like, Shiv, nothing you've ever done proves to anybody that you would just be a puppet CEO. That is literally the antithesis of your character. So Madsen's not, say what you want about Madsen. He's not stupid. So he just basically uses her to get all this leverage up until the moment where he's like, well, let's just go with Tom. He'll just do whatever I said. So, and then Shiv still lets him win.
Yeah, and even though Tom is like not a good person, I do have to respect the fact that he ends up at top because he is also like he's also probably the hardest working out of like the main candidates because he's the one that's like at ATN like tirelessly like
actually doing a job,
doing stuff and
actually doing things. Yeah.
And he's like half of the show is just him miserable because he's like stressed out about things going on at his job. And he hardly has any time to think about anything else.
Yeah.
So
Tom's great. I'm glad he came out on top.
Yeah.
Team Tom.
Tom.
He's 3/4 of the name of the podcast.
He is.
Tom.
We should
Tom
should we put Wamsgans in there?
Yeah, Tom Wamsgans.
It's kind of a mouthful to say. Otherwise, I'd say
I'll give this a
Wamsgans. Yeah, me too. We'll replace Thomas Two Thumbs Up Brokaw with a Wamsgans.
There you go, Tom Wamsgans.
Don't bring it out too often.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think just overall, I think this maybe even was the best season of the show. I need to go back and rewatch it. I've only seen them once. I wanted to rewatch it before the 5th season, before I found out there wasn't going to be a 5th season. But
sure.
I think this was the best season. I think it ended on a really high note. I thought the ending was very satisfying, especially with Tom coming out on top. Much more satisfying than Game of Thrones, I think, for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
At least with who ended up in the top position that everybody was fighting for the entire series.
But that's the other thing. Like, out of any of the reasonable candidates, I don't think any of them would have been necessarily like unsatisfying.
Yeah, dissatisfactory.
Yeah, like it's all like, I mean, they're all bad people, so they all have their negatives. But I mean, you know, if Kendall had gotten it would have been a little obvious, but you know, if Roman had gotten it would have been kind of funny. And there's a lot of ways, you know, it could have worked out in other ways.
Greg pulling a Hail Mary.
Greg just makes it. I mean, there was part of me that like I was like, there was a small part of me throughout a lot of the series. I'm like, what if Greg ends up there? It wouldn't make sense, but like, what if?
Yeah. I don't know
Tom's
if I mentioned it, but I love how Tom and Shiv's relationship ends with just him like holding his hand out and Shiv just like barely laying it on there. I'm like, that's just a perfect visual representation of where they're at right now. And just the conversation of like, I don't know, Shiv, if I want to be in a relationship with you anymore, which is what he wanted for a long time.
But they're kind of stuck with each other since Shiv seems to be going through with the pregnancy and everything with Tom's baby. So like, yeah. To some degree, they're stuck together.
Yeah, that was a tough moment.
That was, yeah.
Very awkward.
Tom just didn't believe Shiv because she's lied so many times.
Yeah.
Boy who cried wolf. Shiv who cried baby.
Nice. All right. Any other things to add, Holden?
I don't think so. I did like the Logan green screen bits in the Living Plus episode. It's kind of him coming back.
Well, double the revenue or whatever. And Greg's like, that was pretty good.
Well, that was I liked that Greg bit too, where he's like yelling at the editor guy, like you need to make him say this.
You just need. I don't know how you're gonna do it. You just
make it happen.
If you don't do it, I'm gonna get fired, and then you're gonna get fired, and just make it happen, man. And it's just like if you wouldn't be paying attention, I guess you wouldn't catch it. But that you know that it's edited, so you definitely see it. But it's close enough.
It's pretty good for how impossible they were making it seem, honestly. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like there's not a whole lot else to say. Just
all right.
I feel like, did we miss any characters?
I don't know. I think we've gone
on long enough.
So that is our in-depth recap of Succession. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the full podcast, linked in the description below. But if you are just watching the whole thing or listening to the whole thing, just continue on because we're going to talk about Across the Spider-Verse, non-spoilers first, and then we'll dive into spoilers.
All right. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse from 2018.
I've got my synopsis. Hold on.
Got your synopsis?
After reuniting with Gwen Stacy, Brooklyn's full-time friendly neighborhood, Spider-Man is catapulted across the multiverse where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. However, when the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles finds himself pitted against the other spiders. He must soon redefine what it means to be a hero so he can save the people he loves most. Holden, this is part 1 of 2.
Yeah.
Which is very important to know. Part 1 of 2 of Across the Spider-Verse.
It's good to know that going in, I think.
Beyond the Spider-Verse. Yes, some people in our theater did not know that going in. I think they left a little unsatisfied.
Yeah.
It was like, what? What?
There are a couple reactions that I took note of. There was one that I'll probably have to mention it in spoilers, I guess. But the directors, I'm using Jimmy's laptop here, directed by Joaquin Dos Santos, Kent Powers, Justin K. Thompson, 3 directors. And writers, I know both Lord and Miller worked on it. I think there was a 3rd writer, though, too. But yeah. This movie, we both really liked Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't listened to our episode on that, go listen to that to hear what you think. But this movie was quite good.
Yeah,
So,
Holden went back and saw it a second time. I would have liked to have done that. I just didn't find the time to this weekend. But yeah, no, this somehow even better looking than the first one, I would say.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's. I mean, you can compare them. I was trying to think of which one's better looking. The first one, it was just so like revolutionary though. Like it was so its own thing. And this one takes it like steps further by adding different art styles and different sections and just overall being a cleaner looking movie. So I think it's hard to compare since that one came first, but yeah, in general, this one probably looks better.
Yeah, no, the nice thing about this is they go to these different dimensions and you really get a different style in each one. And we got a glimpse of that in Into the Spider-Verse, but we actually spent some more time in different dimensions in this one. And I like the unique style they have to it. There's a lot of creative world building that goes along with it too. I think our cast of characters, obviously the returning crew from the first movie is really likable, but the new characters we meet along the way are really fun as well.
Yeah.
They either comic relief or interesting depth they add to the story. I like that a lot.
This movie spends a lot of time on character development like this. And I think that's one of the complaints I heard leaving was there was someone that left while you were in the bathroom. I walked by and was like, God, they wasted so much potential. They spent so much time at the beginning of the movie, and then they didn't do anything with the spider people. I'm like, I don't know. I disagree personally. It's a slower start, but I think it's well deserved because it sets up obviously this greater 2-movie arc. But we spend a lot of time with Miles's parents. Gwen gets a whole intro sequence that's like 15, 20 minutes long, probably. I just think giving extra depth to all those characters really just adds to the impact for later in the movie, obviously. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good, and it's these characters are great, which is and when they team up, they're really fun to root for, and they have great chemistry. Spider-Man 2099, I think, or Miguel O'Hara, I believe is his name, right? Yeah. I think he's kind of the standout of the new characters. I really like his backstory a lot. I think he's pretty compelling. And the way that his story kind of intersects with Miles's goals going forward.
He's probably cooler. I think I liked Spider-Man India more. Which I can't remember his human alter ego's name, but I thought he was just very entertaining. I liked his backstory and everything. So,
like I said, there's not a bad one. They play with the Scarlet Spider.
Yeah, that was good.
He had a good
voiced by Andy Samberg, apparently.
Oh, nice.
Didn't know that.
But again, the new Spider people are great. The returning ones are great. Peter B. Parker's got this little Mayday, I think is the name of his little baby. She's really cute, adorable, fun. lots of really fun things going on here, but also a lot of mature stuff too. There's a lot of exploration of themes, determinism, fate, what is the greater good, how you sacrifice, that sort of thing. And like you said, this is really a movie about the characters and exploration of those themes, and there's not that much plot that happens in this movie, which is surprising because it's over 2 hours long, but the inciting incident that actually kicks off the plot is well into this movie.
Well, I'm interested because, I mean, obviously we have this second one coming out. I don't know if it's going to be another 2 hour, 20-minute movie or whatnot, but like it's kind of, you can kind of see where it could go or whatever. I don't know. It feels like there's maybe not that much of the story left quite, in my opinion, but I feel like they're going to expand on it a bunch and everything. So
I'm sure there are more curveballs to be thrown into the equation.
Of course. Miles, I mean, his whole character in this movie, he's like simultaneously trying to find his individuality, like in his, like among his family and everything, and the real world, while also, wanting to be part of something bigger. Which was, he wants to be part of the spider team and everything, but
isolation is another theme that comes up in this, like being alone, like kind of being, knowing there's a multiverse of all these different spider people, but you're kind of stuck in your own universe and the only one going through these things and coping with that, and no one can really relate to you. It's
but
hard
all the
to be
spider,
open.
All the spider people are simultaneously also kind of like alone together. They're kind of all they're even though they're all teamed up, they're all going through stuff. And I think Miguel O'Hara mentions that at the beginning of the movie, like they're all just kind of miserable and loners, but trying to team up for the greater good and everything.
Yeah. I think there's a lot. The music is great once again. Both the soundtrack and the original score, I think was phenomenal this time. Once again, I think Daniel Pemberton, I think is his name. He was really good.
Yeah. Do you know if he composed the last one too?
I'm not sure.
I wasn't aware. I saw he did. He's done some movie scores I really like, but this one stood out to me. I think. For me, it's an improvement over the last one. Even though I liked the music in the last one, there are just some like tracks in this original score tracks that I've gone back and listened to since then. It's really good. And it's good right from the start. It's like, honestly, probably the best tracks are at the beginning of the movie. I remember it starting out and it was like, this kicks butt. This is so good. And even like the titles, watching it the second time, like the music that plays during the titles. Yeah, I'm blown away by the music. It was probably the unsung hero for this movie for me.
Yeah,
it's great.
Just trying to think of other things that we haven't talked about. Oh, the structure of this movie, really weird. It is not a beginning, middle, end at all. This movie,
beginning, middle.
Yeah, really. I mean, there is no climax of this movie, really. Like the movie kept going. I'm like, oh, are they actually going to show like what they're building up to here?
That's what
and
I
it keeps going,
too.
and I'm like, okay, maybe. And nope, it's not. It's just ending. It feels like it's going to end several times before it does, but it's just they keep setting up one more thing over and over and over, and it doesn't drag or anything. It's just kind of like, as a viewer, you're like, where are we at exactly in this story? Because it's a long movie, but it's still the first half kind of weird. In my video that I did, the standalone one on YouTube, I made the comparison to, I said this part one is more of like a Dune part one, where it's really setting up the sequel for the climactic showdown, as opposed to like
a bigger movie,
Avengers Infinity War, which you have a big climactic battle on Wakanda at the end of that movie, where you have the protagonist going on, you have these beginning, middle, end of the story, and then you have the cliffhanger after that sets up the, whereas this, it's like what they set up in the the beginning, the thing that this major confrontation that they're setting up in the first, half of the movie does not get resolved by the second half of the movie. This movie does not work as a standalone movie at all, really, I would say.
Not really, no. I mean, it's still really good, obviously, but I mean, it's interesting depending on the quality of the next movie, we'll see if, opinions change. But I can't imagine if this was developed side by side the next one, that the next one isn't going to be great too. Like, I feel like it's also going to be amazing.
You would think so. I mean, they're 2 for 2 so far.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say, and I completely blanked on it. So
that's okay. I was going to say, for me, the ending, or it feels like it's ending several times on rewatch, I feel like that does drag the pacing. It's just like, it feels like some of the stuff they keep doing for these like almost ending shots, they could just like cut out or,
Just start
present
the
it a
second
different
one
way. Yes. Yeah. Start it the second way.
There's particularly like plot twist later on that it's like, you could have showed this off in the trailer for the next one, I think.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre. I mean, honestly, the movie was slow beforehand, but it didn't really, I mean, I enjoyed that, but it was just mostly the pacing at the ends that.
And even though this is the beginning middle, there's still plenty of action and excitement to be had. Like some action sequences are just great. And it's not like they're few and far between. There's quite a few fun scenes to go around with. But really creative, lots of good things to talk about. I think we should dive into our spoiler talk of this. I think we've kind of made our opinions known.
I do want to mention this movie's sound mixing is all over the place. I think that is probably the biggest problem with it.
I did not notice that at all. I didn't think I would have to watch it again and pay attention.
It's mostly with dialogue. There are some parts where you can just like not hear what people are saying. And it's mostly with, I don't know if you remember the bit at the beginning where, and not spoiling anything, but when Gwen's like drumming and kind of recounting the events of the last movie, she like keeps talking and it just gets drowned out. Like by the music.
I do not remember having any problems hearing any of the dialogue. So maybe you're just a deaf old man, Holden.
I know I'm not alone. This is a common complaint.
Well, Holden, we know that you're not a good listener. But
okay, fair enough. But also with like Spider-Punk, who is in this movie, I feel like a lot of his dialogue was maybe it was just the voice acting was a bit too quiet, or whatever. But it's hard to hear some of that too.
Okay. Well, we'll have to turn the subtitles on for you.
Yeah, I will.
I'll have to see it again and let you know if I agree with you. But who is this movie for? This movie is for if you like the first one, see this one. I think you have to see the first one to see this one.
Oh yeah.
Don't. That's what I was going to say that I forgot to say. Don't see this movie if you have not seen the first one. My dad was like, "Oh, should I see that new Spider-Man movie?" I said,
"No.
Heck no, Dad. You haven't seen the first
that original."
Yeah. So if you have seen it or if you have not seen the original, even go back and watch it because it's a great movie and it's. Haven't heard of anybody not liking it, honestly. It's pretty wide general audience. There's a lot of creativity to it. So if you like Spider-Man, you're going to like it. If you like superhero movies, you're going to like it. So go back and watch it. If you liked that one, you're going to really like this one as well. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Just know that it is a part 1 and that part 2 is coming out in March next year. So don't have to wait very long.
It's a gorgeous movie, just visually so beautiful. I mean, with all the, as I mentioned earlier, all the art styles, which we'll talk about in spoilers, so you won't know what it all looks like. But yeah, amazing movie. I think I like the first one a bit more.
I think so too, just because it stands alone.
But I am excited. If the third one lives up to these first two, this could be like just one of the best film trilogies ever.
Oh, really solid.
Absolutely. It's so good in these first two movies. I think I'll go probably 9 out of 10. Yeah.
That's a fair score.
Yeah. I think I gave the last one 9 or 9.5. So yeah, 9.
All right, sweet. We're going to dive into spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, go see it, pause this, and then come back later. Otherwise, we're going to start spoilers right now.
All right, spoilers for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We can start.
There's a lot of cameos in this.
There's a lot of references, a lot of just cool things, and we can talk about. But I think we should just start at the beginning because I wasn't expecting to get a kind of prologue thing with Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, she's basically a co-main character with Miles at this point.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, her world is probably the best looking world in the movie.
That's what I said in my review. Cool. I said I particularly like just like the painted watercolor look of her world. It's gorgeous. And I don't know if this was throughout the whole thing, but when she was sad at the end, you could literally see the water coming down it.
Yeah,
was it always dynamic?
During like the action scenes, I don't think so, but pretty much any time that it's like more just conversations, it's happening. So it beautiful. Happens. I mean, when her dad confronts her at the museum at the beginning of the movie, it's happening there too. But yeah, the backgrounds, I mean, there's no consistency in the backgrounds and all the props or whatever, essentially, suggestive, like they're almost not there. It's mostly just the characters and these beautiful gorgeous environments.
It's like the YouTube channel Every Frame a Painting, like literally every frame is a painting.
It is literally, but it's so cool. But yeah, I guess I wasn't expecting like Gwen to come from such a different looking universe, but then you have the fight with the Vulture at the beginning.
Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci Vulture.
Yeah, which is great because the animation difference there, and just the fact that it's also like a weird steampunk Renaissance version of the Vulture.
Yeah,
has like very fun, has like crossbow bolts and stuff. I really liked that.
Yeah, and then you get the introduction of Spider-Man 2099, and what was the
Spider-Woman? I can't remember
the motorcycle.
Name. Yes, the motorcycle.
Holden, you've seen it twice.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
But she was really cool too. She shot webs out of each one of her fingers. Yeah, that's a pretty cool move.
A lot of them used webs differently, which I thought was just kind of a minor but cool thing that most of at least the major Spider-Man that you got to spend time with. I mean, you have Spider-Man India has like those weird, I don't know what they're called, like the discs or whatever that he uses with the webs, and there's the web slinger one that has the gun that just shoots webs. There's a lot of different uses, I think, what fits each one.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've seen it twice. You can just keep walking through the movie because you're gonna remember better than I would.
Sure. Well, so then obviously the dad confronts Gwen. There's that heartbreaking scene where she ends up running away, but then you get to Miles. He kind of gives a recap, but quickly introduced to the Spot.
Yeah, the Spot, which I did not realize was going to be a bigger villain.
Yeah, well, so I had heard, I when I went in, I was like, I feel like I heard this guy as like the main villain or something, but he's played off as a joke at first. So I was like, maybe not. Maybe he's just like a villain of the week, as they call him. But yeah, no, I loved him. I mean, I know he's like halfway through the movie, he basically disappears. He's not in it much past that, but I think it's so like fun watching him go from just this kind of pathetic, doesn't know what he's doing villain to then just like this all powerful nemesis character. He's voiced by Jason Schwartzman. But that robbery in the bodega or whatever was hilarious.
Yeah,
it's like who dropped this ATM in the street or whatever? Who left this ATM in the street?
That was a funny line. I think that's probably the most I chuckled.
No, it was really good.
They brought back I think it's a Banksy line.
Yeah, in the Gwen dimension. But yeah, no, there's that whole fight.
I love the fact that it was the guy who got hit by the bagel too.
Yeah,
that was a nice
bring that
tidbit.
back. That was so funny. But yeah, no, just that whole fight in the bodega and then them kind of going through the street, the inventive way they used all the different holes and everything. And there's the bit where he's like Spider-Man's like caught in him and everything.
Yeah.
It was very inventive and cool. Yeah, liked that a lot.
Yeah. Just other fun things. We had the Lego world was fun, which apparently was made, I guess, by a 14-year-old kid.
So I didn't.
Was this
I didn't see where did you read that? I didn't see like official confirmation of that. Okay. I was seeing people say that.
I heard
but I don't know
it was apparently an interview by one of the directors, I believe.
That said that? Okay.
That said it.
Okay. So that
I didn't see the interview itself, but it was a scene they added later because they saw this kid's animation thing. So they like worked with him to do it. Now I don't know how much he actually did and how much they told him to.
Well,
it's a cool story.
He had reanimated like one of the Across the Spider-Verse trailers, apparently, and if you watch it, it is really good. I wouldn't be. I mean, I'm sure he had help, but like, I'm sure he did a lot of it. Just this 14-year-old kid.
It also works as a nod to just Lord and Miller did the Lego movies,
exactly.
Which were fun too and beautifully animated. So it was just fun. It was funny.
It was funny. Really well. I liked Miguel saying, "You're one of our best, Peter," to the Lego Spider-Man. I thought that was good. But yeah, that's when Spot's kind of going in between the different dimensions. He hops into the Venom verse. Remember that?
That's right.
Talks to the lady.
But don't even actually see Venom. It's just the one lady. So it's like if you haven't seen
Venom, you don't get it.
You have no idea who that lady is.
It's just kind of it's a weird scene.
I vaguely know who she is, and I've seen both the Venoms.
Yeah, like it's not like she's a major character even in those movies. Yeah, has that interaction, but then he comes back out and he's like, "My holes aren't a curse." The guys are like, "Stop yelling about your holes. You're making us uncomfortable."
That's good. Yeah, no, it's a really fun movie. You obviously get that one iconic conversation between Miles and Gwen where they go to the building and they kind of sit on it upside down, which is really cool visually. And I think it's going to be like an iconic kind of visual of this movie.
Oh yeah, I like that kind of aspect of these animated Spider-Man movies, how they're just like they inexplicably can just like walk upside down and what, like they don't try to explain it at all. I mean, it theoretically probably the live action ones could do it too, but it just like probably wouldn't make as much sense there. But yeah, they're just walking.
Wouldn't be comfortable. You would just sit
on your blood would rush to your head.
Get light out. Oh, just falls off. At least they'd land on their head. But yeah, no. Then they go to the what do they call it? Mumbattan. It was like Manhattan, but
or something. Yeah,
Mumbai.
I don't know how they pronounced it.
It was really cool. That's what I can say. It was really cool to look at. Just a lot of things happening all at once visually, and like you said, the Spider-Man India was that what he's called? He was really
voiced
cool.
by the taxi driver from Deadpool.
Interesting.
I have Sony, I believe.
I have not seen Deadpool since it was in theaters.
All right, well, there you go.
What,
He's in
7 years ago?
He's in both of them.
Okay, well, what was the second one? 2018, 20?
Yeah, something like that.
It's been a while. It's been a hot minute, Holden. But he was great, and that whole sequence was really exciting too.
He's like, "Oh, my life's so easy as Peter Parker. I wake up, my hair's perfect.
Yeah,
got a girlfriend. And it's really funny."
And then obviously we have Miles like intervening there when he's not supposed to, changing things. Kind of reminded me of the Loki show where they have to come in and say, you have a variance, we have to fix this now, and the whole even the STEM thing looked like it was out of Loki, the multiverse STEM timeline.
I'm sure that was intentionally looked like the MCU timeline thing.
So you think these are going to be part of the MCU at one point?
I mean, I think theoretically it is just part of the multiverse in the MCU. I'm all but certain we're going to get a Tom Holland cameo in the next one, right?
You would think so.
I feel like it's...
Okay, Donald Glover, right, is in this. Is he the Prowler in something?
Yeah, so I mentioned this when we talked about Into the Spider-Verse. He's in Homecoming. He's like a criminal that Spider-Man, confronts or whatever. And he's supposed to be Miles's uncle.
Yeah,
he even says
Aaron or whatever.
Yeah, Aaron Davis, I believe. And he even says something like, I need to tell my nephew about this or something like that. So, theoretically, he's the Prowler in the MCU. We just haven't seen him actually be the Prowler.
Yeah. It was a little bit weird to see him in the animated realm.
But I guess. I thought it was kind of fun, though.
Yeah.
It was, I liked it.
But, then we have Miguel O'Hara explaining kind of like every Spider-Man has these key plot points in their story. Mm-hmm. And they just have to happen. And I think it's interesting because Gwen's dad hasn't died yet.
Because when they go back to her universe, or when she goes back to her universe, her dad's like, "Oh, I decided not to become captain."
Which is interesting because captain always dies. So how's that going to work there? Is he going to become captain the next one?
I wonder if it's just a random police captain that dies in her universe.
Maybe, I don't know, but just kind of the fate of that and all that stuff, and obviously. Miles is understanding that his dad is going to be the one who, but based on the fate of all these other characters, is going to have to die, and them trying to kind of comfort him in this what they see as an inevitability, and Miles, of course, sees, well, I got to do something about it, which I think is a really interesting kind of question because by doing this, which is clearly something you would understand why someone would want to do, he is putting the whole universe and multiverse in danger, apparently.
But what I think makes it more interesting too is that Miguel tells Miles he's the original anomaly, I think he calls it. And so theoretically, I mean, yes, you could look at it the way Miles is possibly willingly putting the multiverse in danger, but at the same time, if Miles is an anomaly, maybe it could turn out differently for him. It might not have to go that way.
Yeah, it's true. I really did like the plot twist of him being sent to the wrong universe.
Yeah, that was good.
Because I did not see that coming.
I didn't either. But rewatching it, it's it's you can tell because the way the scene plays out, Gwen is outside the window in his actual universe, kind of waiting there, and then but then Miles is obviously in that room, but in a different universe. But in the universe Gwen's in, it's raining, and the other one it's
Oh,
not.
I didn't catch that.
Like, I feel like it's easy, you know, maybe if you're perceptive, you'd be like, maybe that's an inconsistency or something. But no, it's because they're in different universes. So
Really cool little twist at the end there. But obviously, I mean, the probably the biggest action sequence of the movie is the Spider-Man chase of all the Spider-Man, just all of them, and you see the web slinger and all the other fun types,
the
and
T-Rex,
the T-Rex
cat,
cat.
Peter parked car. Remember that?
Peter Park's car.
That was really funny. Yeah. I liked that.
And then you have little baby Spider-Man, Peter B. Parker's little kid. I thought that
Hold
was
the baby.
fun too.
Hold the baby, Miles. Hold the baby. It'll change your life.
Yeah. You want to see this picture? You want to see this picture? I like Peter B. Parker a lot. He's a fun character.
Yeah, I was disappointed he wasn't in more of the movie, but I'm sure it seems like it's going to be a bigger part in the next one. So
yeah, but I mean, Miles gets away. I don't remember all the beats of that action sequence because it's been several days. But any other little bits that you wanted to talk about?
There's the bit where it's like the '60s cartoon Spider-Man. Like, do you remember that? Or
when they're all pointing at each other, like
no. Like he's like swinging away, and then it's like front facing '60s Spider-Man is like gonna go out hit him.
I don't remember. There's so much to see in this movie.
There
like
is.
blink and you miss it.
Okay,
honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of obviously a lot of references to actual suits. There's the Insomniac one. Remember that? When it's like, all these guys are these are the video game guys. And then it's Insomniac Spider-Man is there. That's pretty funny. But yeah, most of the I think a lot of the actual Spider-Man variant suits are in the background, like ones you might know from the comics, like the various armors and stuff. Those are more background characters. There's one, the version from the cartoon, the Spectacular Spider-Man, gets one line in it when they're all surrounding Miles before he tries to leave or whatever. He gets a line. Apparently that's a good cartoon. I've never seen it, but yeah, I don't know. Lots of Spider-Man.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And then you have them trying to go home, and you have Gwen going back and talking to her dad in that scene, finding out that he kind of threw it in and did not become the captain.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah. So Miles Morales is the Prowler in this other universe. And he's got
42.
He's got different hair.
Yeah.
I would say worse. I think it's a worse haircut.
Yeah, probably.
But
I don't know. He does him.
He definitely seems a lot more scarred and hurt.
Well, yeah, because his dad has died. The difference is his dad dies in that universe instead of his uncle. So he's kind of grown into being a criminal with his uncle, I guess.
I like how the universe, or at least New York City, is just in shambles without Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's because that universe doesn't have a Spider-Man. That's right. But yeah, I don't know. I liked that twist. It was fun. I think it's a cool place to end it. Honestly, I'm like, yeah, it's you leave the audience oh, Miles is a bad guy in this universe. So gotta wait till next year, see what happens.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm sure they'll make up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, it'd be interesting
Our
to see.
Miles will appeal to the other Miles,
or maybe the other Miles becomes the main antagonist or something. I don't know. We'll see. I honestly don't know where they're going to go with the Prowler direction. I did not see that coming at all.
No,
until the scene was playing out. It's like, okay, well, it's obviously Miles, and they kind of drew out that moment a little bit for the dramatic tension. But
yeah. As soon as Aaron's like, I'm not the Prowler or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, March 29th, 2024 is when Beyond the Spider-Verse is coming out. It used to be Across the Spider-Verse Part 2.
Yeah,
glad
this
they
is
changed
better.
it.
Mission Impossible should get on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Although maybe people would have known it was was Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, so maybe people would have managed their expectations.
Maybe they should have just done what Dune did and put it on the title for the title. Remember?
Yeah, I guess. So
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. I thought it was amazing. I'm excited for the next one.
Amazing Spider-Man.
The Amazing Spider-Verse crossover.
I'm trying to think if there's other things we're missing. I mean, we did kind of skip over the all the character moments between him and his parents, but those are just solid little bits.
Yeah.
I like that, he gets grounded, but then he kind of gets ungrounded by his mom.
He wants to write his old apology on the cake.
Yeah. that was funny. And then he just gets 2 cakes. Yeah, I don't know. Spot. I really like how the Spot looks after he gets like sucked into the thing where it's just like scribbles. He's just like a vague human form. Oh, those one of the things I forgot to mention about the Spot is like when I don't know if it's this way throughout the whole time when you see him, but at least when he's inside himself, you can see like the various like drawing lines that like some like the circles or whatever that an animator might use to like sketch out a character or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's it's very light on him, but you can kind of see it when it's like especially up close on him. So I thought that was cool. Yeah, that's probably about it.
I think we can call it there.
Yeah.
So, thanks for listening to our in-depth review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Of course, we'll be doing one next March when Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. But we're going to go on to the next segment of our show, Holden, which, of course, is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, Jimmy, this week, obviously, I watched a lot of Succession in one night, so that was a big chunk. This weekend, I had a wedding I had to go to. Shout out to Tommy and Allie, who Tommy does listen to the podcast. So shout out to you guys for getting married. It was a very fun wedding. Thank you for having me be a part of it. But aside from that, I watched Missing on Netflix, that movie we thought about doing, but instead saw Infinity Pool. Remember that?
Thanks a lot, Holden.
I left it up to you.
Did I decide that?
Yeah, you decided on it.
Shoot. Thanks a lot, me.
Thanks a lot, you. Missing was better. It was very fun.
But not as much Alexander Skarsgård, though, I'm guessing.
That's true. I don't think he's in this movie at all, as far as I can tell. Maybe he's there. But yeah, it's starring Storm Reid, who was just in The Last of Us and is in Euphoria and whatnot. She's great. If you've seen Searching, it's very similar where it's all set on a computer screen for the most part. There are some moments where it's not, which is I think different from Searching. Most of it is. But it's a very, very interesting mystery. I really didn't know where it was going. And honestly, when I thought I was like figuring it out, I looked at the time. I'm like, oh, I'm only halfway through this movie. I'm not figuring this out yet. And then turns out I wasn't. So, yeah, really cool. Liked it a lot. Otherwise, I forgot to mention last week, the Clone High reboot, which I had been hyping up, is coming out, I think weekly 2 episodes. It's on HBO Max.
You mean Max?
Yeah, Max. Sorry.
Max.
And it's good. The first episode is kind of rough, and I think that turns some people off. I think the following episodes are better. So far, it doesn't surpass the original season for me, but it is still very funny. I think it is interesting having kind of this time gap, and they use that a lot in the show to just explain things away and whatnot. The new clones are fun. Yeah, liking it so far. We'll see how it goes. Other than that, been slowly watching Barry. Still on season 2 of that. I think that's about it there. And then I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, I just got to the Frozen world. They did a shot-for-shot recreation of Let It Go in this game.
How was it good?
It was good. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, they got all the original voice actors from it, and animation-wise, it's not too far behind Frozen, I would say. It looks really good. Like a lot of it, I would say maybe even looks better. So it is just weird that they decided to throw that in there. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, good stuff. What about you, Jimmy? What have you been doing?
All right. Well, still working through season 3 of Barry. Hopefully getting to season 4 soon so we can review that. Ted Lasso ended. I have a video on it on YouTube. Check it out.
Real quick, what did you think of how season 2 ended in Barry? Or how far are you in season 3?
I'm quite a ways into season 3
never
now,
mind
so I'm
then.
trying to remember how season 2 ended exactly.
I obviously won't mention it, but
playing Assassin's Creed Origins, working my way through that. Okay. So I'm still having fun with it. Again, it's Assassin's Creed,
You know what you
pizza,
get.
It's like it's okay pizza. It's not the best pizza I had, but it's pizza.
It's a Domino's pizza.
Domino's is pretty good.
It is good. I take that back. It's a pizza. This is a Pizza Hut pizza.
Yeah. I haven't had Pizza Hut in a long time.
I got food poisoning last time I got Pizza Hut.
Beat Saber came out on PSVR 2, Holden, and that is good news and bad news. Good news, it's free if you have it, and all the music packs are free. That's nice.
Thank goodness.
Bad news is it is worse than the original port. It is. Here's first off, tracking fiasco. When they first released the update, or it's actually a different app that you download.
Sure.
The PS5 version.
PS5 version.
The controllers are like slightly curved, kind of like Count Dooku's kind of lightsaber, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like you're like holding it like this, and you would think the blade would go vertically, but it was like hooked, like Count Dooku's lightsaber.
Weird.
So it was like playing with that, which of course, me having muscle memory from playing the other one 300 hours almost, I'm like, this is not going to work. And immediately everybody told that to Beat Games and Oculus, who owns it now. And so they fixed that so you can completely customize the angle. So the angle is fixed, but the controllers themselves are just not conducive at all to playing Beat Saber. Because one of the things you don't realize once you've played it a bunch is that you you kind of manipulate the controller and the way you hold it a lot to get all the notes. And if with all that muscle memory, you're like locked into place on the Move controllers.
Oh, really?
Not the Move controllers, the dual. What are they called? Dual Sense.
Move 2 controllers. Let's call them that.
I can't remember what they're called, but the new VR controllers that are very nice for pretty much every other game except something like this.
Sure.
So there is $1 million to be made for someone who makes like some sort of attachment that make it feel like a saber hilt, because that would help a lot. Another thing is the sound quality is terrible.
Really?
It sounds awful. It's like you're like someone is playing it through like, a aluminum can through a string to you. I don't know what it is. It's not the headphones, because every other game I play, it sounds fine, including Pistol Whip, which is another music beat game. It sounds horrible. I have no idea what the problem is here. They need to fix it. It is awful. And, that's kind of the point of Beat Saber. So, music. And I can't confirm this, but the frame rate I think is terrible. Like it is all over the place on the higher difficulties. Like it's buttery smooth on the lower stuff. So I think what happened is you have all these people reviewing it on IGN and GameSpot who will just casually play Beat Saber. But when you get to the higher levels and you even turn off all the effects and everything, but it's like drop in frames, or I don't know if I'm just crazy, but it was bad.
Okay.
I will say it is way sharper and nicer looking than the original, but there are some they need to straighten it out. And I am not going to be playing the PS5 version. I'm just going to be playing the PSVR 1 version until they get this sorted out, which is too bad. But I just thought that was interesting and worth sharing. And then the last thing I just want to talk about is making my Succession video about the finale was such a pain in the butt, because I did not realize that HBO will just copyright literally anything. So.
Yeah, just anything. Yeah, it's Warner. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've heard Warner's hard to work with.
So. And I heard that I like the Nerd Soup podcast. They're really good for covering Succession. Was a really good show that they covered, and so they talked about that in their finale review too, like how just with Max debuting literally the week of the finale of Barry and Succession, how kind of weird that was, because some people it's like, could they find the finale? Did they realize, it was a switch?
That is weird.
They didn't wait, but yeah, that was so. It ended up working to flip the footage and like scale it way down to the corner of the screen, so you can still see it, but it was a much better video when it was the full screen. Sure. I was pretty proud of it. And so you can still watch it and still kind of get the gist of it. But just know that going forward, whenever we review a Max show, so Barry and all that's great. But yeah, there we go. Holden, what do we have next week? Are we going to be transforming?
We are, yeah.
That's my.
You seem pretty excited for Transformers, are you?
Oh no, my Jaguar's transforming on me.
There's probably a Jaguar Transformer in this.
You mean Jaguar?
Yeah, Jaguar.
Jaguar.
Yeah, we're doing Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. I can't wait for this movie. Very excited. What a movie to follow up Spider-Verse with. Who knows? Maybe it'll be great. Maybe it will be.
Maybe it'll be a transformative experience.
Maybe it will be. But yeah,
maybe it will be.
But yeah, we'll be doing Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. If you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes, or by emailing us at tomppodcast@gmail.com, or donate to our Patreon. And I believe that's it, Jimmy.
Sweet.
Probably not Barry next week, but we'll do it
Probably
soon.
not.
We'll do it soon.
I will not catch up by then.
We'll do it in a few weeks, probably.
But otherwise, YouTube have been making a lot of stuff, so check that out if you're not looking at. There's a bunch of stuff going on there. Especially if you want to get some early reactions before we do the podcast, on a movie, that sort of thing, I'll have those out probably before we record. So if you just can't wait for that Transformers: Rise of the Beast review, go check out the YouTube channel. But yeah, no, that I'm excited for this, I guess. And then The Flash is in 2 weeks. So wow, what a
Flash. Elementals come in. Indiana Jones.
Jones.
This originally was like a month I was very excited for, and I feel like just a lot of these movies have fallen off for me. So we'll see. Asteroid City's in there somewhere, maybe.
Yeah. We shall see. Well, we'll be here. We'll review them one way or another.
We'll do something.
You can come
promise. We'll promise you that.
Suffer with us, please. Don't let us go through this alone. We'll be like Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen, feeling alone.
Yeah, I do feel alone. Or I'm part of something bigger, but I do still feel alone here.
Yeah. All right, sweet. Until next time, then. Adios, pantalones.
Love you.